chapter 10 today, and then possibly next week we'll try to do the last 2 chapters depending on what all we got to go through, but they're not, neither chapter is very long, so we might be able to do that. And as soon as we get done with Ecclesiastes, we're going to walk through Revelation.
Yeah.
Woo! Get ready.
What's Old Testament?
That's scary. Robert, Ecclesiastes is in the New Testament. Right after
Even Sky knows that.
Let me know when you find it.
We'll start. Okay, what book is it?
Psalms, Proverbs. Go to the middle of your Bible.
Yeah, I got it.
There you go. Yeah, I'm 779.
Mine's 774.
I'm 779.
It's 562.
Oh, great.
No, it's 8.
Y'all got that little print in.
Thank you. Yeah.
James was like 9 something.
Well, we had a good time yesterday. We went to celebrate freedom and played in the mud. That was fun.
No, we didn't.
And then, praise the Lord, we got a good week. But Ecclesiastes, we started a sermon last week called Wise Beyond Words. And we're going to couple that this week with a sermon title called Wisdom Helps Make a Life. And the world that we live in, guys, culture, we are not lacking in knowledge, but we are lacking in wisdom. Our world is full of knowledge, and even full of Christians. Our churches is full of knowledge, but what we're lacking is practical wisdom, which is the ability to apply what you know. So we're going to be, and I'm just going to recap what we did last week real quick. Wise beyond words. The first thing that we said that Solomon said we need to do that applies wisdom is we need to learn to appreciate wisdom in other people. Solomon was saying in verses 13 through 18 that God has placed in our lives 1 or 2 or a few people that He has chosen and purposely put in our lives to speak into our lives. And that wise people listen and adhere to the people that God has placed in their lives to speak wisdom to. I know the people in my life that God has placed that says when they speak, you need to listen. When they speak, you need to be quiet. When they speak, you need to be writing. When they speak, for me, Brother Jim is one of those people in my life that I know if I'm going to be around him, I have a pad and a pen. That is just something I do because I want to learn to write down things. And then in your job, thank you, brother, and with other people, God has placed. And guys, it's not always just super hyper spiritual things, practical things in your job. God has placed people that have worked there longer, know things, can teach you things. And God has placed people and put wisdom in other people for your benefit. At school, wherever you do life, you will run into people that are wiser than you, that have more wisdom, that have been doing it longer, that understand it in a way that you can't. And God says, listen, you will be wise if you learn to appreciate wisdom in other people. It's hard though, because that means you have to humble yourself. You have to allow yourself to sit under them. It means you have to be quiet. It means you have to listen and not speak. It means that there's a lot of humility rolled into that. We talked quickly last week that godly wisdom is greater than strength. And that one of the downfalls of particularly young people and young men in particular is we take glory in what we can do. Not so much. We work our physical strength and our body and our hands. And what older men wish they could do, as older men probably as men, I wish I had the energy and the strength that I had as a young man. But what we don't realize as young men, even though we have all this strength and energy, what we should be wishing is for the wisdom that they have now. And that older, wiser people, Proverbs, Solomon wrote in Proverbs a few times. He says, if you see gray hair, pay attention. Ask questions. Listen to them. Because you know what that means? They have lived. They have lived a life.
Good hair.
Gray hair, not your hair. That's not gray hair. Gray hair.
Okay.
Not good.
I use good
People
hair.
like Granny and my dad and Ken and people that have some wisdom in their hair. That's what Solomon says. Look at age. Look at people. But he also gives this warning a few verses later. He says that not everybody with gray or white hair is wise. That he's run into many foolish older people who are older but still yet live foolishly.
Yeah.
So be careful. But we need to, that godly wisdom is greater than strength, and that we talked last week that you know what's going to fade one of these days? Your strength. And for women, Solomon said, you know what's going to fade for you one of these days? Your beauty, your youth, your face, and you'll get wrinkles, and you'll have kids, and your body will change, and you won't look like you did this 10 years ago, and your husband's going to, change, and you won't be as strong, or all these things will change. Solomon says those things are fleeting. But something that you and I can grow and get stronger in every day is our wisdom. Is our wisdom. Is our love for the Lord. It is our wisdom in life. And that wisdom is greater than strength, but wisdom needs to be exercised. We talked last week that godly wisdom is better than strength, but number 2, Solomon said that wisdom is not always heeded, or that wisdom is not always listened to. In verses 16 and 17 of chapter 9, Solomon gives the idea of someone who speaks, that the person who hears knows the advice is sound, but says, you know what? I got a better way. Or, yes, that will work, but I'll do it my way. And Solomon says that the biggest problem with wisdom is that it's often not listened to. Is that it's often not heeded. It's often not responded to in a godly way. Like, how many times you've spoken to somebody, or as a pastor, I talk to a couple, or I talk to this guy, and I say, listen, man, you living with your girlfriend is not the best for you. It's not God's plan for you. It's not God's will for you. It's not this and that. And instead of heeding that, they either leave the church, or they do something else, and quit following God altogether. Because here's what happens is wisdom, a lot of times when it's good for everybody else, but I don't like it for me. Because you know why? I'm the exception to the rule. I am that exception. Yes, that's true, except for me. That applies to them, except for me. Or but I can do another. Or how about this way? You're just old. There's new ways to do things. There's new, and you know what, in some ways, but you know what? Solomon says be careful to quickly dismiss the older generation and the older people around you. That just because you're strong and have a lot of energy, man, let me tell you this for sure, this church would not be here without the older generation. You know why? Because you young people in this church don't give nothing financially. We wouldn't be here. Seriously, the younger couples here compared to the older, nothing in comparison. Because the older generation has been instilled a long time ago that you know what, you can't outgive the Lord. And it is my duty, and it's my calling, it's my joy to give to the Lord, to give to His church, and to give to God's people, because you know what? When you're younger, money's tight. It's all about money, it's all about the push, and somehow the Lord always gets the back burner. And Lord, if I give her, here's a couple bucks. You spend more on fast food in a week than you give the Lord the whole month. But the older generation has learned, you know what? The Lord's got to come first. The Lord has to come first. I can't afford not to give to the Lord. And that's why we as younger people need to sit under people like that, so we can watch wisdom and faith in action. And we can trust the fact that if we give to, that God will take care of us. But you know what? That's not something that you're just automatically going to do. You're going to have to learn it. My granny's 93 years old and still gives her time.
Amen.
Every Sunday. Limited income, 93. She said, I can't do a lot, but I can give my tithes to the Lord. We as younger people, we often go, man, I can't give my tithes to the Lord. I got to do this and this and this and this and this. I put all this. I put so much debt on myself, I can't even pay the Lord. I can't even give to the Lord. See, Solomon's not talking about bills you have to pay to survive. He's talking about putting debt on yourself that's not needed, and then you can't give anything. That's what he's talking about. That's not wise. And younger people, myself included, I'm in that category, you tend to sometimes do those type of things, and then the Lord is the first thing to get cut out of your life. But then I look at people like my dad or Ken or different brothers, people that I know, you know what? He always comes first. When you look at their budget or their life, Jesus is first. And not just that, but when you look at their bank statements and their history, you can see Jesus has come first. You can see through their money and following that Jesus, when you know what's funny is when you ask for volunteers and do things, the first people usually direct to volunteers are the older generation. Say, yes, I'm available. I'm here. I'll serve. I'll put together a fish fry. Who's coming with us? We're going to plan. We need y'all to come with us. Solomon, the reason he's saying this is because Solomon he's in that generation of older people. And he says, you know what, I wrote a book when I was young called The Song of Solomon about me and my first wife, the love of my life. And I was young and dumb. Ignorance on fire. And then he said, you know what, then I lived a little and I wrote some things that I practically learned in my 40s and 50s. Now, he's writing Ecclesiastes in his 70s or 80s, 90s, saying, you know what? I wasted a lot of time, I wasted a lot of years, and I wasted a lot of wisdom that God gave me. And what he is writing to his people this morning, he's saying, listen, if you'll listen to me, you can learn from my mistakes. You can take the wisdom that I wasted and apply it to yourself. He said in number 3, in verse 18 of chapter 9, he said that godly wisdom can't be overcome by sheer folly, meaning this, that no matter how wise you think you are, one sin can ruin it all. No matter how wise you think you are, you can ruin it all. We've also heard a lot that, you know, it takes, and we had this conversation with Scott in the last couple of weeks, and did you know it takes a long time to build trust. It takes a long time to build trust with, like, if you're a new employee. You know, they're going to give you the keys to their, to their company on your first day, or they'd be a fool. You got to build trust with your parents. You got to build trust with your coworkers and your friends and your family. And that trust, if you think about it, takes a long time to build. But trust can be destroyed in a moment, in a decision. Can be ruined in just very, very quickly, and then it takes forever to bounce back from that. It takes forever. Forever. Because you know what? Because you've taught the people that you love or that know you better that you've truly, you can't trust me completely. Because 100% of the time I'm not honest. I'm not always going to tell you the truth. I'm going to hide things. And when you tell somebody something, that's what's going on in the back of their mind. I don't know. They've done it before. That's what Solomon's talking about. That is hard to gain wisdom. It's hard to gain trust, but it's very easily and quickly lost. So that's why he's asking, he's begging Christians, watch it. Watch what you do. Watch what you say. Watch how you live. Because here's what he's saying, is you want to gain the trust of the lost people that you live around and not destroy it so quickly. Because you want to gain their trust and you want to gain who they are so that you can get to know them, and so that when you can and when you do share the gospel, they're ready to listen because you've earned it. Because they can trust what you say by the way that you have lived. But if you're that guy or that person that claims to love Jesus and lives like a fool, and then you try to share the gospel with them or try to tell them that they're living like a fool, they won't listen to you. They're gone. Who are you? You live worse. No. And I say that because I've been there. I've been the drunk guy sitting on the beach being evangelized to from a guy, and then me being a smart aleck trying to show him I knew more about the Bible than he did. Yet I was the one living in sin, and he was the one trying to reach out to me. Solomon says, it's a fool. It's a fool. And the Holy Spirit, even though I was outside of the Lord's will at that time, I was probably 20, I knew. I felt guilty. Because I wanted, the next day I was like, I hope I run into that guy because I need to apologize. Because you know what, I wanted him to know that I was smarter than he was. but I was definitely living dumb in obedience. And that is a memory that's always stuck. And that's a memory I can pull out and say God's grace was continuously pursuing me. But I wasn't wise enough at the time, or ready enough to listen. And that's what that's the whole concept of what Solomon's saying here is when God sends those type of people, and God sends those type of situations in your life, don't be so foolish, don't be so arrogant where you won't listen. And guys, sometimes it's not always the gray-haired or the older generation. Sometimes God will use your peers, your best of friends, husbands. Oftentimes God will speak through your wife. And then wives, not so often God will speak through your husbands. But at times God does speak through our spouses because you know what? You won't listen to anybody else. And sometimes you have marital conflict because God is trying to get a point across and one or neither of you are listening or being humble. See, God says wisdom comes. You know, you can learn from your children. I've learned from my kids who are little. They have taught me things. They taught me how to love. They taught me how to be selfless. They taught me how to be giving. They've taught me how to do things without expecting anything in return. Of course, you know, we always harp on the kids and this and noisy and being like, but you know what, we need to give them a little praise that, you know what, if we're wise enough, we can watch and learn from them. I mean, Solomon has a book in Proverbs, I don't know if you read it, but he says, you know what, I stared out a window one day, stared at a garden, and I learned from the garden. He said, I've learned from ants and badgers, eagles, serpents on a rock, and a man with a woman and a ship on sea. He said, you know what? You learn from everything, everyday life. Just everyday practical things in life can teach you the wisdom of God's word. That's his point. But he says, listen, you'll spend a lifetime gaining wisdom, but in a moment you can lose it. So be careful. Be careful. Wisdom help make a life. Today, we're going to wrap up chapter 10. We're going to read verses 8 through 20, but let's start with verse 8. Ecclesiastes chapter 10, verse 8 says this: He who digs a pit will fall into it, and a serpent will bite him who breaks through a wall. He who quarries stones is hurt by them, and he who splits logs is endangered by them. If the iron is blunt and one does not sharpen the edge, he must use more strength, but wisdom helps one to succeed. We'll stop there because I want to start in this section. That number 3, the last thing, this applies a lot to our work. Number 3, the last thing that he says in this chapter is this: that wisdom's awesome. Wisdom's great, but it means zero unless you apply it. You can do a job all day long, but if you're not wisely doing it, you're just doing more work, and you probably won't get it done efficiently or effectively. That there's correct and right ways to do things. There's right tools to use for the right kinds of jobs. You want to have the right tool for the right job. Guys, just like in life, you want to have the right person. You want to be married to the right person for a lifetime, because that's what you're going to have to do. Guys, you're going to have to make wise decisions. Wisdom. Here's what happens, and what I've learned a lot too, is that what you know from up here and what you do are two different things. You can know a whole lot about a whole lot of things, but if all you do is use that knowledge to sit on your couch and Netflix and chill, you're not a wise person. If you never get out in the world and apply that wisdom, you are not wise. I don't care how many degrees you have, how long you went to school, how much you think you know, what all you've been doing it for 50 years. It doesn't matter if you don't get out there and do it. If you don't go out there and apply it. See, in these 2 verses, Solomon's telling us that wisdom is clearly a skill for living. And he gives us 4 ways that we can make wisdom work for us. Number 1, he says, first, we must apply wisdom in getting a job done. If you want to get a job done the right way, you got to do it the wise way. Wisdom has the advantage of giving success. So he gives us 5 illustrations. Solomon does. He says, he gives us 5 things, 5 jobs, 5 tools, 5 things that need to get done. This is how you do it. And his idea is this. How many of you think before you actually do? Like if you see a problem, you see an issue, are you a person that just does it, responds, and then thinks later? Or do you see the problem, think it through, get a plan, and then act? Some people, man, they see a problem, they don't even think it through, they just respond. And it's a mess. Then God does the people that see a problem, assess it, say, this is interesting. Okay, here's what we need to do. Solomon says as Christians, as followers of Jesus, we need to be the kind of people that think before we act. That when we see a situation, we need to say, okay, Lord, what do I need to do? I need to spend some time in prayer and God's Word. And guys, if your life's a mess, if there's areas in your life that's a wreck, don't just try to react and respond. Pray it through. Think before you act. Pray before you act. Seek God's wisdom before you act. Not just say, I'm going to put a Band-Aid on this situation and hope it all comes out all right. He says, no, wait. He says, he gives us 5 things. He says you can have energy and perseverance and all these things. And you can be really good with a shovel. You can be the fastest pit digger in the world. And I know people that's their claim to fame. They can dig a hole really good. But here's the point. He says, I don't care how good of a hole you can dig or how big or deep it can be, because here's 2 things. Either you're digging it and you'll get too close to the edge and fall in, or you'll dig yourself so deep you can't get out. He says there's a lot of things you need to think about before you start digging that hole. Avoid the perils of your own work. Be wise as well as you are energetic. He says this, if you're clearing stones from an old wall, and these are a little outdated for us, but we can kind of get the picture in our mind. If you're moving stones from an old wall, be careful. He says, because all your strength and all that you have done could get you killed. If all of a moment you move one stone and on the other side is a snake, bites you and kills you. Because you know what he's saying is this. You ever meet people that they're hasty with everything they do, just it's sloppy and it's messy, and then, they just start ripping stuff down, and and then they're breaking stuff or getting cut. He says, be careful. Be careful. He says it's not enough energy. It's not enough to have energy, but you need to have wisdom to go with it. If you're an excavator, be careful when you cut out a piece of rock, because here's the thing. Back then they had to cut them outside the mountains, or outside of valleys. And when they would cut it out, it's not like today where they have all these big machines. When they would cut it, it would fall straight to the ground. They would cut and it would fall. And I'm talking large pieces of stone. And this is history too. A lot of times people would cut them out and they wouldn't be thinking about where it would fall, and it would fall and crush and kill. They would be doing their job, cutting out this humongous stone, and people would come by and go, man, that's beautiful. That's a beautiful piece of stone. Man, you've done a great job. And the day before the job ends, he's out there, he's cutting, he's chiseling the last piece before the stone is released, and he's not thinking, he's not paying attention. He hits that last rock, and you know what? It falls, crushes, and kills him. Because he wasn't wise. Remember, you know what? It may be beautiful, but it killed him. Because it's got to fall somewhere. He gives the other analogy of this. He says that when you're cutting trees, which I've had a little bit of experience to do, he says let the same advice be true. He says, I remember when I first started working with Dad, and we had to cut some trees in Meadow Creek. He'd always ask me this: do you have a new chain? It's got a chain on it. But I learned this, you know what? Dull chains are dangerous. Dull chains will get you killed. Dull chains don't cut like they're supposed to. Dull chains can hit something and bounce off, hurt you. They don't cut the proper way. So I learned from the very beginning, man, if you're gonna cut anything, you need to have a good sharp chain on there. Not try to spin, you know what? And I learned a lot too. It took about a third less of the time. Just cut through something, you can spend 3 hours with a dull blade. But the lazy, unwise person won't take the 15-minute trip for the $15 part to make their job easier. They'll fight it for 4 hours. Just fight, because they gotta win. Solomon says that's stupid. And then he goes on with trees saying this, listen, every time you cut a tree down, what happens? If you cut it, it's got to what? Fall. And that's the second thing he's always driven home to me and being cautious. He hates cutting trees, he'll tell you that. He hates it. Because it's highly dangerous, it's not super profitable, and you can cause a lot of damage. You can crush houses, and you can crush vehicles, and you can crush people. And you can see real quick when you hand somebody a chainsaw, if they know what they're doing. And you can either say real quick, give that back. You're not, let me do it, you're not doing it. Versus the ones that get up there, they see a branch, they know to cut underneath first and then go on the top, they can direct the fall. You can see those kind of things. But a fool will just grab a chainsaw and start cutting. Thinking just because it can cut, I should be the one cutting and do whatever it wants. But no, you gotta know where the tree's gonna, guys, Solomon's saying this, life's a lot like that. There's things in our lives that need to be cut out, or things that need to be worked on and changed. But before you go into changing things in your life, make sure you got the right tools. Before you make any big decisions, make sure you know where you're gonna land. When this is all over, where am I gonna be? Where's my family gonna be? What's the health, mental, physical, emotional state of those involved? Where are they gonna be? And do I have enough to provide for the tools I need to go? And where are we gonna land when we fall? And how's all this gonna play out? Lord, I need your direction, I need your wisdom. Much like my dad gave me direction physically on a job, we need to run to the Lord and say, all right, Jesus, this is my plan. What are your thoughts? How can I do this better? Do I have the right tools? Do I need to change something? And where am I going to end up? Not just be the kind of Christian that just cuts your tree down and wherever it falls, and then you're just picking up the damaged pieces. Because not just that it hurts you, maybe it broke your hand, but you know what? When you live life like that, you start hurting those around you. You start crushing the property and the things that belong to other people, and that tree had nothing to do with them. It was 2 ounces down. But because you live a life unwise and you're not thinking things through, you're affecting people 2 or 3 houses down that were innocent. See, Solomon, see how he's applying cutting trees down to life? How you respond and move and be rapid. He says, slow down. He's talking mostly to younger people. Slow down. Get a plan. Execute a plan. Be disciplined. Be consistent. He says that you need to apply wisdom in getting a job done. You ever heard work smarter, not harder?
Yes. Hard, smart.
If you exercise wisdom, the Bible says you are more likely to have success in life. Number 2, he says, secondly, you need to apply wisdom in controlling your mouth. You need to apply wisdom in controlling your words. Let's pick up in verse 11. If the serpent bites you before it's charmed, there is no advantage to the charmer. We'll talk about that in a minute. But the words of a wise man's mouth will win him favor, but the lips of a fool will consume him. The beginning of the words of his mouth is foolishness, and the end of his talk is evil madness. A fool multiplies words, though no man knows what it is to be, and who can tell him what will be after him? The toil of a fool wearies him, for he does not know the way to the city. Now, some of those verses we get, and then some of it we're like, what? All right, I understand shut your mouth, I understand there's a fool, but I don't understand some of the analogy. Let's break it down. First thing he says is this. They had these things back then in their culture called snake charmers. Now, do you guys have any clue what that was? What did they do? What did a snake charmer do? What was their job?
They made snakes dance with little.
Yeah, they most of the time they had a poisonous, deadly snake. Something that you and I, a commoner, wouldn't be playing with. wouldn't be messing with it. I definitely wouldn't be messing. I wouldn't even watch it. No, I had to turn them off the TV because I thought they were going to come out. I don't like snakes. But these guys' jobs were, like James says, to show you that they had power over the snakes. That the snakes would succumb to their commands. And so they would have them under a wicker basket. They would draw this crowd. They would announce the type of snake, announce how fast it could kill you if it bit you, all these things. And then he would lift the snake, or lift the basket, and there sat the king cobra. And they would either sometimes play a flute and show you that they could, have it charmed and it wouldn't bite or do those things, or they would play a game where they would try to throw different pieces of like dice or rocks in the circle of the snake, and whoever had the most rocks thrown in would win amount of money. It was like Vegas. They would place bets, and the charmer would try to keep the snake calm while they played this gambling game. So Solomon goes off and says, he brings up this idea of the charmer and the snake. And he asks this question: if the charmer gets bitten, his talent didn't do him any good. So he asks this idea. He says if the charmer has the skill, has the ability to charm snakes, but he gets all these people together, they're going to play this gambling game, and he lifts that wicker basket, but he doesn't use any of his talents, what's going to happen?
He did.
Either he or the people that are around him are going to get bit. That's what Solomon is saying. So Solomon's point is this, is that you need to use the wisdom that you've gained. That wisdom unused is useless. That if that snake charmer didn't use the wisdom that he had, somebody was going to die. Life is that serious, Solomon is saying. If you and I don't use the wisdom that we have, somebody could die. Physically, spiritually, emotionally. He's being very, very serious. So he's saying this. Let's apply this to you and me. It's not enough to know how to charm the serpent, but you have to apply the knowledge before you're bitten. I started thinking this week, how many of us in this room have areas in our life right now where you know what the right thing to do is? Maybe you're facing a decision, a choice, or you need to give an answer to somebody, whatever it is, but you know clear cut what right is. You know what right is in your situation. And here's what's even funny. Let's say you've written out a list of principles, or you've written out the list of qualities that are right in your situation. Like, maybe you're parenting and your kids are going through this, and so you write out a bunch of things that you know you could do to help your kids. I could pray for them, talk with them, read God's word with them, read with them, have more conversations with them, and you write this big long list of things that you know is right to do, that you could do. Maybe in your marriage, it's struggling, and if you go to a therapist or somebody like that, they'll often tell you, write a list, write down qualities, write down the good and the bad, write down things you could change. And Solomon's saying that's all good to write all that stuff down. But if it always only stays on that paper and never gets applied to your life, it means nothing. It means absolutely nothing. You could get principles for marriage. Maybe, Dad told me a long time ago, never take swimming lessons from a drowning person.
Good.
That's true.
Good work.
But there's always people in life whose life is falling apart, yet they want to tell you how to live.
Yeah.
They want to tell you how to make better decisions and better choices and what you should do, and who your friends are, and what your life really is, and all these, and who your kids, and yet their life is in shambles. But they have all these principles for you. Or maybe you're that person who's constantly looking into other people's lives saying, you could fix that, you could be that, you could do that, and then you go home and your financial life is destroyed. You know, your kids don't respect you, your life's a mess, but you're constantly trying to tell people how to have a better life. You know all the right answers in your head. It's important to know. James 1:19. He says it's important to know, yet it's equally as important to do. You know what's, I know, at least I have my idea of what being a good husband is. But it doesn't mean anything if I don't apply it to my marriage. I know what I'm learning what a good father is, but it means nothing if I don't apply it. I'm learning what a pastor is, but it doesn't mean anything if I don't apply it. I know what a friend is, but it doesn't mean anything if I don't apply it to my life. See, a lot of us come to church, and y'all been coming for years to church, and you've heard some of the most powerful preachers and sermons in the world, and you sat there for an hour, and you nodded your head, and you took some notes, but that's as far as you ever got with it. And just like Clint was saying this morning, is you've taken God's word, and it's a list, and it's a good idea, and it's full of principles and knowledge, and I know this is God's word, but you know what? That's as far as it goes. It stays right here in this book. It doesn't apply to my life. Like, you know when it applies is when that person does something in your life that the world would say is unforgivable, and Jesus says to you, you have to forgive them.
That's right.
You know what that is? That's applying wisdom. It's being obedient to God's word, which in reality makes you better than the world because you're doing what the world can't through the power of the Holy Spirit. That's applying wisdom. It's in those moments where you want to bite back at your spouse. They have said something and you just want to, oh, I could break you. You will cry. And the Holy Spirit says, shh. You won't be able to get that back. And in that moment, it's wise learning, yes, I could say it, and I probably should say it, and you deserve it, and you had it coming, but wisdom has taught me to not say anything at all. Not just in marriage, that's in all relationships. He says, watch your words. Because once spoken, you can't get back. He says, listen, your words will be, and they can be forgiven, but they will not be forgotten. See, that's the difference between us and God. Human nature. We can forgive just like God, but we cannot forget. Because when I see, or you see me, and I've said something offensive to you, even though we're cool, it's always right there. What I've done or what I've said in the past, even though it's forgiven, it remains a thought. It remains. Solomon says, man, more than anything, guard what you say, be wise. There's no wasted word. There's no wasted word. See, our churches are filled with Bible-believing people who have destroyed their lives because they have been bitten by the snake. They thought they could charm sin. They thought they could play with sin. They thought they could control the areas in their lives that could be manipulated. And then it's the moment they weren't paying attention, they were bit. But they knew all that. I knew I shouldn't be playing with that snake. I know I got to pay attention at all times or I run the risk of getting bit. But I took my eyes off just for a second. Listen, that's all the enemy needs. That's all the flesh needs. That's all the world needs. It doesn't need you to be watching 99, 100. That one time, you're not paying attention. That one moment, you slip back into the old ways. That's when the snake will say, I got you. And that's when, well, I've been living good for 5 years. Yeah, but it took a moment. One to destroy all of that. Guys, you could be married 25, 30 years and one act of adultery, it's gone. All that hard work, commitment, and sacrifice, gone in a moment. That is what Solomon is saying is at risk. He says this is serious business. He says you don't put your wisdom to use So he asked this question, what about you? What are the areas in your life that you know the right thing to do, but you are just not doing? He asked this question, are you praying with your spouse on the regular? Like real prayer, not candy-coated dinner prayers. He's saying, are you grabbing your spouse's hand? Are you holding her tight? And are y'all crying out to the Lord together? Because that's what wise couples do. Are you reading the Bible or making the Bible a part of your life and a part of your family? Is it centered around who you are? Are you out of debt or trying to work your way out of debt? And are you using your money wisely? Are you trying to fulfill the calling that God's called for you? And where you stand now, based upon where God's called you to be, where are you? God says, I have called you to this, yet you remain here. Not because I haven't gifted you or given you wisdom or ability, you choose here. You stay here. You maintain comfort. You're comfortable there. If any of those questions that I've just stated are solid, that if you struggle with them, the answer is this: you're not putting your wisdom into practice because you know what you need to do to change. Wisdom would be today, do it. Not like next week. It'd be today, making the changes that God wisdom will help you make a life. Verses 12 through 15. We're almost done. He says, the words of a wise man's mouth win him favor, but the lips of a fool consume him. The beginning of the words of his mouth is foolishness, and the end of his talk is evil madness. A fool multiplies words, though no man knows what it is to be, and who can tell him what will be after him? The toil, the work of a fool wearies him, for he does not know the way to the city. Solomon is very clearly stating here that we need to focus on controlling our words. He's saying this: whether you're a fool or whether you're wise, both sides can talk a lot. A fool can have a lot to say. A wise person can have a lot to say. The difference between a person who is wise and a fool is not how many words they say. Have you ever been around a person that talks a lot, but they never say nothing? You know, they're constantly rambling, but in all that rambling, they haven't said anything about you. And you're just like, that was a complete waste. Kind of like us, some church services. He says this: just because you can talk a lot don't make you wise. Or how about this? Here's where our culture is really bad. Just because you have an opinion about something don't mean I have to listen to it. Or just because you have an opinion on an issue don't make it right. See, what we've done in culture, we've equaled all opinions to the same. And here, what we've done dangerously in the church is we've allowed our opinions to be equal with God's Word. And so we've substituted our opinions for the truth of God's Word. And now we are much like the Pharisees and Sadducees of Jesus' day, allowing our words, our traditions, and our opinions to be equal to or greater than the Word of God. Because we don't like it, or it's offensive, or we don't see it that way, or we don't quite understand it, or we just plain like our sin, and this is what we want to do. And just because you have an opinion on an issue doesn't mean you're right. Guys, it's going to be very true in Revelation. When we walk through Revelation together as a church, Revelation is about Jesus Christ. It's the revelation of Jesus Christ, but in that revelation is a lot of speculation. A lot of things we just not sure about. Now, we have ideas, but we're not 100%. And so you can't come and teach or preach the topic of Revelation and go, this is how it's going to be. Because you would be a fool and most likely be wrong. But you come hungry and you say, look, there's a few different views on this passage. This is what people think and taught. This is where I lean. You need to pick one and stand on it. And we're going to go through that in Revelation. But here's what happens. People think that they can just talk a lot. They'll trick you into thinking they're real smart. And they got life all figured out. And they know what they're talking about. Here's what he said. Consider the following benefits, or the following things, to being silent, or maybe you just need to learn to talk less. And there's benefits to silence and talking less. Solomon says this, if you are silent, or if you would just learn to talk less, here's one thing you will learn to do. You can learn to listen carefully to what other people have to say. You know what the biggest conflicts in marriage is?
Listen.
Yeah, or not listening.
Chad.
I know as a husband, sometimes you get in this mode as when she's talking to you, and preferably when you don't like what's being said to you, you're not listening to what she is saying, you are preparing your comeback. I have not listened to the last 30, but I am ready for it. When your mouth closes, it's on. I don't know what you're saying, but I'm ready to fire at you. Solomon says that's unwise. He says whether you're mad or whether, he says this, whether you're wrong or right in the situation, be quiet and listen. Let them, let her, let that person explain to you what they feel and why they feel it, and listen to it. Number 2. He says the second benefit of talking less or being quiet is you have time to frame your thoughts. Instead of just saying the first thing that pops in your head, if you take a minute to be quiet, I try to. If you'll notice a wise person, when they're asked a question or they're dealing with something, they don't just speak. You see them thinking, don't you? Well, how about this? They take time to work it out in here before it ever comes out here. If you would take time to frame your thoughts. Number 3, he says the benefit to being silent or talking less is this, is that your friends or those around you will value your words because you have first listened to them. He says this, if you want people to listen to you, you need to listen to them. You can't be the person that's constantly running around saying, listen to me. And then when they speak, you just cut them off or talk over them or talk, beyond them or just totally ignore what they say. God says, man, let people speak. Let people hear. You want to be heard? You need to learn to listen. Guys, that's true about our spiritual life. I don't know about you, but I've been guilty a lot of times of coming to Jesus in my life. And all I'm doing is talking. Never ready to listen. Not ready to hear. I just got all these needs and problems and situations and issues and things and God, and talk, and then I say to them, and I say, in Jesus' name, and I leave, and I never stop and say, okay, now you speak to me.
Yes.
Okay, now Lord, I'll sit here for the next 10, 20, 30 minutes, and I'm just in silence because I need to listen. I need to sit, be still, know you're here, and I need to be quiet. Sometimes in our relationship with Jesus, we need to be quiet. Talk less. In our marriages, talk less. Listen more. In our relationships, in our jobs, this is just very, very practical stuff. But Solomon says it's the difference between life and death, success and failure. A good life and a bad one. Misery and joy. Simple things. Simple things. He says, number 4, benefit of talking less or being silent is that you run a much lower risk of saying anything foolish. So if you're not talking, at least you're not saying anything you could later regret. Right? So at least if you're silent, you're not saying something stupid. I got that written right on my notes. It is better to be thought a fool than to open your mouth and remove all doubt. Lastly, we're almost done. Give me 10 minutes. He says this. You want to live? I heard you, Scott.
Right on there.
That was not wise. Number 3, it says you need to learn to apply your wisdom if you lead others. You know who needs to take this to heart more than anybody else? If you're responsible for anybody else. Leaders, husbands, moms, wives, bosses, employees, managers, workers, elders in the church. If you're responsible for anything in your life, you need to heed this. You need to listen to this. He says in verse 16 and 17, "Woe to you, O land, whose king is a lad, and whose princes feast in the morning. Blessed are you, O land, whose king is of nobility, and whose princes eat at the appropriate time, for strength and not drunkenness." For in these verses, Solomon is telling us there's some people, there's some men who try to solve their problems with pleasure. With the things that are wrong in this world that make them feel good. Why is it you think, men, that when you've had a bad day, or your marriage is crappy, or you're struggling financially, you go find some sinful place to be? Because that is what sinners do. Solomon says, if you're a leader, if you're married, if you're a member of a church, if people look up to you, that is one of the most unwise things you can do. Food, he said, this is interesting. He says food is for activity, not for inactivity. What do you mean? We eat to live, we do not live to eat. One who controls the base appetite can control all the other areas where it takes self-control. See, this is all what he's saying. He says self-discipline is crucial as a leader. Meaning this, that if you don't have self-discipline, you'll never lead well. Or this, if you don't have self-discipline, no one will ever follow you. The guy that always wants to do. We are affected by, and let me ask you this question. Are you affected by the tone set by those at the top of any organization? Employees will work by the tone set by their bosses. Churches will run set by the tone of their pastors. Homes follow the lead of their parents. So whatever those in authority, however they set the tone, is how those who are under it will follow. God says this, or Solomon says this in the same way. Laziness, incompetence, or moral failure in any organization will cause it to fall. See, we like to look at the White House and see all this stuff that's going on. And say, oh man, it's so bad. But God says, you know what? I'm looking at your house. I'm looking in your house. I'm looking in your heart. I'm looking in your marriage. I'm looking in your bank account. I'm looking at your time. And you know what? If don't worry about them. When I look into your life, Cody, and I see all these areas, you know what? Unwise. And you're a leader of men, and you're a daddy, and you're a husband, and to God, this is getting scary. Because you project wisdom, yet when I get to expose it for what it is, you're a fool. See, we as human beings, we can project to be wise, and when God is honest, and we're honest with ourselves, and the Word of God comes deep, you know what? He says, no. You live very foolishly. The first priority for bad rulers or bad people in authority is to fulfill their own appetites and desires. You ever see people in authority and leadership? You know, if all these, if God blesses them financially in a business decision, instead of blessing, giving their employees raises or bonuses, what does he do? Write himself a $2 million end of the year salary bonus check. While his employees, are working at minimum wage and getting, have to have all these support from the government, yet he's out on a $2 million job. God says, that's so foolish. He says, take care of your people, and your people will take care of you. But God says this, good rulers, people in authority, says this, if you're disciplined, you will enjoy good things in moderation so that you can concentrate on governing and leading others. Meaning, if God blesses you, find a way to bless others. If God gives to you, find a way to give to others. If God has loved you, find a way to love others. If God has forgiven you, find a way to forgive others. Lead by going first. Don't be the kind of person that merely talks about it, but to do it. Go first. Be the leader. He says in verse 18, through indolence the rafters sag, meaning a sagging roof, and through slackness the house leaks. Picture a guy, and I did not listen, this is just generic, so if it hits you, I'm sorry. If it hits somebody you know, I'm sorry. Kind of. Picture a guy sitting at home with a bottle of his favorite beer in hand, watching TV. He's supposed to be doing work around the house, taking care of things, providing for those whom God has made him responsible. He's supposed to be a steward of the things that God has entrusted to him. But the house all around him is falling down. The roof is leaking. The bills have stacked up and are past due and have not been paid. But all the while, the beer belly grows larger. Solomon says that this is not an appropriate response. That in fact, he says, while effort alone will not guarantee success, lack of effort, lack of wisdom will almost certainly guarantee your failure. That if you have been given a task by God that you are too lazy to do it, you will not succeed. Life doesn't just happen. I'll be 32 in a couple of weeks, and I realized this: everything good in my life requires work. And not just sometimes work or a little, it takes hard, dedicated, relentless, tiresome work every day. Just my job alone requires work. Hard work. I can't yield. I can't quit. Or we wouldn't eat. My home requires, my relationship with my wife requires work. Marriage is not something that you say I do to, and then 3 years down the road, roll over and look at it and go, man, this is just the greatest thing. No, it takes work day in and day out. It takes forgiveness day in and communication. And you know, it takes humility. Oh my God, you have to eat your words and eat your pride and shut up. And you know what? You have to learn to lose to win. You gotta lose. But losing is not losing, it's actually winning. When you're doing it for somebody else. And your marriage will become so solid, and you can look at your spouse and go, it doesn't matter what comes against us, because we are so tired, we are so much in agreement. We've worked so hard to get here, nothing can come against us. But you know, the marriages that fall apart are the couples who cannot communicate, they don't talk, they're not on the same page, and one little thing, one little pebble is thrown in their life and they trip and fall. It's all over. Yet I have marriages that I look up to, the guys, they are facing hurricanes of life.
Yes.
Yet they are hand in hand saying, come whatever may come.
Thank you, Jesus.
Because life's too short to bicker and argue about the things that don't matter. Whether this or that, or whether she's right, I'm right, it don't matter. Because I'm trying to live for the last day. Trying to see, you know, I got a picture of how I want my marriage to be remembered. By my kids and by those who know me. And Solomon says, live for the last day. What is it this week that you need to do that is not done in your life? I know people that they're great starters, but terrible finishers. Always starting something new. Starting a new job, starting a new project, starting a new side job, starting a new activity, starting a new hobby, and then, a couple weeks later, so how's that going? I never got to finish it.